Hello, this is Mrs. Rodriguez with Module 3, Lesson 2. All right, let's get started. Example 1, subtracting expressions. A, subtract parentheses 40 plus 9 minus parentheses 30 plus 2. Now, in order to do this problem, we need to remember our order of operations. So let's go ahead and get our pencils. Order of operations. Now, many of you have probably heard of PEMDAS, right? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. But unfortunately, they still struggle with this concept because they believe, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, means that multiplication comes before division, then it's addition, and then it's subtraction, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, then division, then addition, then subtraction. And that's wrong. That's not how PEMDAS works. So you'll notice that my P and my E are in separate boxes, but multiplication and division share a box, and addition and subtraction share a box. The reason why these guys share a box is because multiplication and division, it's whichever one comes first in the problem. So if division comes first in the problem, then you would divide before you multiply. If multiplication comes first, then you'd multiply instead of divide. So an example of that would be if I had 10, if I had 10 times 2 divided by 5. Then in this case, remember, you always read from left to right. So we're always reading just like you read a book, from left to right. In this case, we would do the multiplication first and we'd get 20. And then we would divide and we'd end up with 4. But if the problem was 10 divided by 10 divided by 2 times 5, in this case, the division comes first. So we would divide first, and 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. As you can see, two very different numbers. So when you're working with PEMDAS, remember, multiplication, division, it's whichever one comes first in the problem when you're reading it left to right. The same thing happens with addition and subtraction. If I have 10 plus 2 minus 5, then the addition would come first because it happens first in the problem. And we'd have 12 minus 5, and that would give us 7. But if the problem was 10 minus 2 plus 5, we would do the subtraction first because it's listed first in the problem. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. Once again, two very different problems. I know a lot of students get frustrated because they go, oh, I'm following PEMDAS, multiplication, division, then addition, then subtraction, and they wonder why they keep getting problems wrong. Well, guys, this is why. Multiplication and division share a box because it's whichever one happens first, and addition and subtraction share a box because it's whichever one happens first in the problem. All right, now that we've gone over that, let's go ahead and put a line to kind of separate our notes from the problem, and let's go ahead and tackle this problem. I'm going to choose purple. So in PEMDAS, P comes first, and that is parentheses. So we're definitely going to do the parentheses first. Okay, 40 plus 9 is 49. 30 plus 2 is 32. So we get 49 minus 32, and that equals 17. Okay. Let's take a look at B. B says subtract 3x plus 5y minus 4 minus 4x plus 11. So once again, parentheses first. However, you'll notice that in the parentheses, they all have differences. They're not like terms. 3x cannot combine with 5y or 4. And 4x cannot combine with 11 because 11 doesn't have the variable x. And 5y doesn't have an x like the 3x, and 4 doesn't have any variables at all. So they're not like terms, we cannot combine them. So instead, we're going to take the first one and we're going to subtract the second. Now there's a couple of ways we can do this, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line down. Remember, in math, there's hundreds of ways of doing the same thing. So there is no one way. So in this case, I'm going to show you two different ways. The first way is we have our 3x plus 5y minus 4, and we're just going to subtract 4x plus 11, okay? And we're going to take it one part at a time. So we have 3x. The 3x can combine with the 4x, so 3x minus 4x is negative x. We have a 5y here. Let's choose yellow. We have a 5y here, but there's no y on the other expression, so we can't combine it with anything. So we're just going to go ahead and rewrite 5y. And then last but not least, let's choose green. Nope, we already did green. Let's go ahead and choose blue. We have negative 4, so we look on the other side, and yep, there's another regular integer there, so we can go ahead and combine those. And negative 4 minus 11 would be negative 15. So that's going to be our answer. So in the first case, you just subtract across the two expressions. Now, some people struggle with integers and they get confused on what to subtract, and they just have a hard time with it. So in the second method, you can remember that subtraction is adding the opposite. So what would that mean? Well, we would have our 3x plus 5y, but instead of writing minus 4, I would write plus, because you're adding the opposite, plus a negative 4, okay, because this is minus a positive 4. And then for the next part, we'd write plus, right, because here we're going to change that and we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to add the opposite of positive 4x, which is negative 4x. And then we're going to add the opposite of positive 11, which is negative 11. As you can see, now it's really easy to see what are negatives and what are positives, and this might help with that. If you're struggling with, am I subtracting or is it a negative? Okay, so now we can combine like terms. We have the 3x and the negative 4x. Well, if I have 3 positives and I add 4 negatives, I'm taking 3 steps forward and 4 steps back. I'm going to end up with a negative x. And then we have, oops, this is supposed to be a 5y. Once again, the y doesn't have anything to, the 5y doesn't have anything to combine with, so it's just going to stay 5y. And then we have negative 4, and we're adding 11 more negatives. So that's going to end up giving us a negative 15. And then remember, anytime you have this situation, we're adding the opposite. That means we just subtract, right? Because subtraction is adding the opposite. So we can rewrite this as negative x plus 5y minus 15. And that is our answer. Okay? So 2 different ways of doing the same problem. Remember, do whichever one works for you. And if you can think of another way, that's great too. There's always several ways of doing the same thing. Just make sure you're getting the right answer. Okay, example 2, combining expressions vertically. Now, if you'll recall, horizontal, let's go ahead, horizontal means side to side. So vertical means up and down. So it's kind of weird. They're saying we're going to solve this problem vertically, right? Vertically. Find the sum vertically. So what does that mean? Well, we can take this first expression and add it to this second expression by rewriting it as 5a plus 3b minus 6c plus 2a minus 4b plus 13c. Now you'll notice you'll notice that I stacked them on top of each other, and I have the numbers with the same variables lined up together because you have to do like variables in order to combine. So if I have 13 positives and negative 6, right? So 13 positive C's and 6 negative C's. Well, 13 minus 6 is going to be 7, right? And it's going to be a positive. I have negative 4 B's, but I have 3 positive B's. So if I owed you $4 and I paid you back 3, I'm still going to owe you $1. So that's just going to be a B. Remember, 1B can be written as just a plain old B. So 1B is the same thing as a B. And then we have 5 A's plus 2 more A's. So if I have 5 apples and I'm going to add 2 more apples, I have a total of 7 apples. And our answer is going to be 7A minus B plus 7C. So here's our answer. Okay? Once again in this problem, they want us to solve it vertically, except this time it's the difference, and the difference means subtraction. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to stack one on top of each other. You're going to line up the like terms because they're the only ones that can combine, and then you're going to solve. So let's go ahead and do that. We have 2x plus 3y minus 4. And now we're going to subtract that whole second part. So 5x is going to go under the 2x. There is no 3y, so I'm just going to subtract 0y, and then minus 2. And now we're going to solve. Oops, that's the bell. Okay, so now we're going to solve. Negative 4, and we're subtracting 2 more. That's going to give us a negative 6. 3y minus 0 is just going to be 3y. And then we have 5 negatives and 2 positives. So that's going to give us negative 3x. Okay? And that's how we do that one. All right, moving on. Example 3. Using expressions to solve problems. Go ahead and grab your highlighters. A stick is X meters long. A string is 4 times as long as a stick. Express the length of the string in terms of X. So let's go ahead and do that. First, we want to label our parts. We have a stick and we have a string. Okay? The stick, it tells us, is X meters long. So the stick is going to equal X. The string is 4 times as long as the stick. So the string is going to be 4 times X, which is 4X. Now the string has been written in terms of X. String equals 4X. So we're good. Now part B. If the total length of the string and the stick is 15 meters long, how long is the string? So now we have a total. Okay, with the string and the stick. So that means the string plus the stick equals 15 meters. I'm just going to replace string and stick with their math using the variables and the terms that we got in part A. So string was 4x. The stick was X, and together they equal 15. 4x and x both have the same variable with the same base, so we can combine them, and you get 5x equals 15. Now, we need to know how long the stick is. So if it's 5 times x, and x is a variable, that means x is a mystery number we don't know. So 5 times some mystery number equals 15. Then that means x needs to equal 3, because if you divide 15 by 5, you end up with 3. So if x equals 3, that means up here, the stick equals 3. And if the string equals 4 times x, that means the string equals 4 times 3, which equals 12. So we get the answer of how long is the string? The string is 12 meters. All right, moving on. Example 4, expressions from word problems. It costs Margot a processing fee of $3 to rent a storage unit. Okay, we want to make sure we highlight anything math related. Plus $17 a month to keep her belongings in the unit. Her friend Carissa wants to help her. So we have Margot and we have Carissa. She wants to help store a box of her belongings in Margot's storage unit and tells her that she will pay $1 towards the processing fee and $3 every month that she keeps the box in storage. Write an expression in standard form that represents how much Margot will have to pay for the storage unit if Carissa contributes. Then determine how much Margot will pay if she uses the storage unit for 6 months. Okay, so once again, we got to label our parts. We have Margot, and Margot has to pay $3 in a processing fee plus $17 a month. And I'm going to use M for month. Let's go ahead and label that. Carissa is going to pay $1 towards the processing fee and $3 a month. So now if we want to figure out how much Margot will pay, we need to do Margot minus Carissa, because Margot will pay less because Carissa is helping out. So it's going to be 3 plus 17M minus 1 minus 3M. Okay, I lined up the like terms. We get 14M and 2. So 2 plus 14M. Now M, if you'll recall, was the month. And they want to know how much she's going to pay for 6 months. So what we need to do is replace the M for month with the number 6. Now we know how many months. So 2 plus 14 times 6, that is 84. And 2 plus 84 equals 86. So she will pay $86 a month while Carissa is helping her pay the fees. Okay? So, now you guys have the problem set. Go ahead and work on the problem set. This is your homework. And if you have any questions, remember you can always ask during class or come see me during office hours. I hope you guys have a great day and good luck.